Okay. Good evening. As Matt said, I am probably the least intelligent person in the room, as I don't actually have any O-levels. Who remembers O-levels? Does everybody remember O-levels? Wow, yeah, good. I don't have any of those. I have some CSEs. Who remembers CSEs? Pardon? You can't hear me? I could hear me. Can you hear me now? Does it work? So, yeah, as I was saying, Richard, as Matt pointed out, I'm probably the least intelligent person because I don't have any O-levels. And I'm currently sitting next to probably the most intelligent person we've ever had at Cafe Vivo. Not dissing any other really intelligent people in the room who haven't actually notified me of their intelligence. I'm only going by that because Cara's got Doctor in front of her name. So I'd like to introduce you to Dr. Cara Lawman. We're very, very grateful to Cara because we unfortunately were going to interview Debbie Santos, who's not too well. So we're very grateful for Cara stepping in at the last minute to take over. So thank you very much for coming in. So Cara, thank you for being here. Little bit about yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, and all that kind of stuff.
Okay. Well, I started as a GP. I trained at King's College London and went and worked in a practice in Pewsey in Wiltshire. But while I was there for a year, I noticed that a lot of stress and anxiety and depression were coming through the doors that I knew nothing to do with apart from medication. So I decided to go back into hospital medicine for a while to do 6 months psychiatry, which I did at Frimley Park Hospital. Fell in love with psychiatry, so ended up changing careers and being a psychiatrist. Then we moved to America. They don't like English doctors. So they wouldn't accept...
But that's because they've seen lots of House, probably.
So they wouldn't accept my qualifications. So I couldn't practice as a psychiatrist. I couldn't practice as a counsellor. And in fact, the only thing I could practice without qualifications was a life coach. So I became a life coach. But because I'd specialised, I finally worked in Frimley Park Hospital in the day treatment centre, running the day treatment centre when it opened, specialising in stress and anxiety group therapy. So that's what I started doing as a life coach.
Okay, so you talked a little bit about stress. Now, obviously I'm not the smallest person in the world, and I was thinking about going on a diet. So I've always seen sort of people that are stressed as being really thin. So I thought maybe stress was a good diet for me to go on. Would you recommend that?
In the short term, it would be wonderful.
Good.
Because the adrenaline would put up your basal metabolic rate. You would break down fats. You would break down glycogen in the liver. It would be great for a short while. Unfortunately...
Short being how long?
Weeks. But
okay.
After that... You don't just release adrenaline when you're stressed, you also release something called cortisol. And long-term cortisol lays down fat around your abdomen. It's called toxic fat, actually killer fat, and a lot of research is going into that at the moment.
If I don't make it to the end of the interview, Matt, can you take over, please?
I'm done.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about cortisol.
Well, cortisol is something that is incredibly in the news at the moment. I'm sure most of you have heard of it. Tons of research going into it because now we know that stress, what you say to yourself in your head, releases cortisol adrenaline just like you were facing a bear. So if you say, what if I'm late for my interview? You will release chemicals in your body just if you were going out in the redwoods where I was in California and facing a bear. And this cortisol that we're releasing all the time now because of our tight schedules actually affects our immune system. And chronic stress releases either too much cortisol or too little. So either your immune system gets depressed, in which case you have infections. So my tip for tonight is if you're going to have the flu jab, don't do it the week you're stressed because they've shown that you don't get a big enough antibody result because of the effects of cortisol. But too little cortisol is what gives us, our immune system gets overinflamed and we have allergies and autoimmune disease. So it's huge at the moment because of this mind-body connection.
Great, okay. So there you go, some tips for you this evening. So that comes under the banner, we were talking earlier, Cara and myself, and it comes under the banner of neuroscience. And I know you've done quite a lot of research into neuroscience. It'd be good to understand how the work that you're currently doing and also your beliefs and that kind of stuff marry up. So maybe good for you just to give us a bit of a background to some of the things around neuroscience and also some of the tactics, some of the thoughts and processes that are now being sort of delivered and suggested as a way of being to be able to resolve these problems.
Okay, when I moved back here, I stayed as a life coach because I ended up loving it so much. And the thing that really makes me a life coach is that I'm very growth orientated. But I also have an incredible passion for neuroscience. So while in the States, I would go every 3 months to listen to the latest neuroscience research in stress. And it was just amazing, the things that are coming out as the very best things for you to do if you're stressed. For example, be connected. Spend time in relationship. Be connected to a higher power. Clear research that decreases your cortisol. Forgive people. Decreases your cortisol. Give thanks. That has a huge impact on lowering your cortisol. In fact, the San Francisco Medical School now get their medical students to give thanks at the end of the day, and it's completely turned around the atmosphere in the school because of the stress that the medical students were under. Giving thanks releases serotonin. You know that drug that we want to not be depressed? It releases dopamine. Yeah.
Great. So thank you for all coming here this evening. I feel much better now. Great. If you'd like to all hold hands and say thank you for... That'd be great. No, thank you. Okay, so that's great. That's fantastic. So it's quite simple, really, but it sounds, at the end of the day, it just sounds very simple.
It is simple. And some of the research that excites me, because of my beliefs, is coming out of Pennsylvania. Dr. Newberg, at the moment, has been looking at meditation. We've known for a long time that meditation is very good for your brain neurochemistry. And he's been looking at meditating on different... gods, if you like. So if you meditate on a God who loves you, he does an MRI at the beginning, and he works with 65-year-olds who supposedly, when I was at medical school, your brain couldn't change after 5. You only lost things, and we know that's completely untrue now. But so he works with 65-year-olds, and he gets them just for 30 days to meditate for 12 minutes a day on a God who loves you. And then he does an MRI at the end, and he can show massive brain changes. Here, if you go up from your eyes or your eyebrows up to your hairline, is your dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. And that is your thinking, problem-solving, judgment, and the beginning of empathy. He showed that when you meditate on a God who loves you, that increases. He showed that when you meditate on a God who loves you, your fear circuits decrease. It's just incredible, the research we're having at the moment. Anyway, I'd like to do MRI scans of all my clients before and after if I had the money, but in the States they can do that, and it's just wonderful.
So everyone over the age of 65, could you stand up, please? You are now the target for Dr. Cara Lawman. I myself am not 65 yet. Not for a long time. So great, thank you. Okay, so tell us a little bit about life coaching and Rewire. What is Rewire?
Now we're a team of life coaches. There's 5 of us. I'm very pleased that Charlotte's with me today.
You stand up, Charlotte. Thank you. You can sit down.
I actually have just an incredible team that we work together. And we called ourselves Rewire, not because we're electricians, but because we believe very much, or not believe, we know that you can actually rewire your brain. And because we're very growth-focused, we work very much for helping people to rewire their brain. So people have come to us who've been stressed or had beliefs that they're not worthy of love all their lives. And they'll say, well, you can't just change that. And we say, yep, we can. We can change it and begin to change it in weeks. And I'm just going to show you here. May I?
Go on. Yep.
hope I can do this in a short time. At the end, later, I think afterwards, there's just a couple of slides showing you how neurons, which is your brain cells, actually rewire. And it's called neuroplasticity. I don't know whether you've heard of it, but it's mental repetition rewires your neurons. So we say that neurons that fire together, wire together. So here's my, as you can see, I got not very good marks with art. Here's a neuron in your brain, a brain cell. Here's another neuron. And you notice there's little gaps between them. This is the synapse. And this is where chemicals are released. An electrical impulse goes down the neuron. And then it causes chemicals to release that go across to the next neuron, to a receptor. And then another impulse goes down, and so it continues. And so if you're a worrier, when something is happening and you say, what if, you keep going down this way, what if, and you keep creating until you've got an absolute motorway in your brain, quite literally going down here. And these chemicals are some of the chemicals that you'll have heard of. I mean, there's lots of neurotransmitters, but some of them are serotonin, or dopamine, or glutamate, or GABA will be released. Now, what we do is we get our clients to start saying something different in their self-talk, which is what you say in your head. So we get them to say something different, and every time they say something different, and you're not going to believe this, but in 10 minutes of saying something different, you can grow one new little vesicle with chemicals to fire it this way. 10 minutes. If you say something different in your head for half an hour, these are called dendrites here, and they have little dendritic spines on them. And this is what the vesicles are on. If you do something for half an hour, you can grow one new dendritic spine. So you truly can renew your mind. And so we need to be thinking about what we're thinking about. And what we say in Rewire Life Coaching is the most important conversation you have all day is the conversation you have with yourself.
Hi, Rob. How you doing? I'm very well, thank you. Good. I feel better already. No, that's great. Thank you very much. That's fantastic. So we're going to finish the interview there. Thank you very much for sharing that. Cara's going to be around for the rest of the evening. We're going to... Cara's got a website, so we'll put that information on Twitter and also on Facebook. But if you want to have a chat with her before she goes, or if you want any more information, particularly about how the life coaching works, and if you're in a requirement for something along those lines, please feel free to contact Cara. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
We're just gonna have a short...